Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Animal Kingdom. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's start off with Billy in the picture, showing up, and Darren's asking him for help because Billy's got connects, because he was locked up in the same place that Pope was, and he was initially not going to tell Billy what they were up to, because Billy's thinking like, oh, you're trying to hit a prison? Like, what? It's like, not much you're going to get for that, because he knew if he told him about Pope, it's like, I was wary of like, right, you probably want to go ahead and tell him about Pope, because if you don't, he's going to think this is some kind of job, and he's probably going to potentially want in on it. But the moment he finds out this is about Pope, he's like, nah, don't do that, because it's like, Pope's a sociopath, he's not even worth it, saying that basically the society as a whole could breathe a little easier. And it's like, oh, finding out, it's like, oh, he killed Baz's girlfriend Kat, and it's like, oh, he's like, well, almost like, yeah, he was always a little weird, uneasy. It's like Billy saying all the hot, like, having all the hot takes. I mean, yes, is Pope like not all there, like, mentally, like, all that well, but truth be told is, and they really lean into it this episode. I mean, they've leaned into it every episode, because Pope is the way he is because of Smurf, you know? So, I mean, even him killing Kat is because of Smurf too, so I even love the whole thing of later on when Darren's like, yeah, we're also going to split the money. It's like, and Jay's going to get some, and Billy's like, why should that kid get some? I'm like, who the fuck are you to tell Jay he can't get none of this cash, considering, like, all that he's done? He's, out of any of the kids, like, out of anyone, he's more Smurf's protege. He learned all the ins and outs of the businesses. He's the one that's kind of been running things. Which part of me wonders, like, Jay is the only one that knows about, like, the real ins and outs of the money and stuff, so I'm like, is he bullshitting his uncles? Is the money not what they like? That looks in Jay's face sometimes. I guess it's just like, I guess we're just gonna cut and run, and he doesn't want to cut and run, because it's like, right, it's a temporary, like, hey, we're like cashing out, and we're gonna get like all together, selling all the properties and everything. It's gonna be 5.4 million. Everyone's gonna walk away with 1.3 basically. But I'm like, is he like being for real about that? Is he just trying to ease them over? I'm like, he'd be a lot more stressed out if it was like, if it was him just like covering his ass. But it actually plays into this really interesting element of the episode where everyone's going to go their separate ways, because you have Craig has been sending money to Singapore like a little bit at a time. I think he's planning on a meeting up with Ren and Nick there or something like that, and then that they're going to go somewhere else. Darren eventually talks about he's going to go off with Pope, because he's like, we're going to go to Indonesia. He's like, there's someone there that I could see who I might not want to see me, Adrian. And so he's going to be the one that's like, I guess Darren's kind of felt like after everything's all said and done, he's more so his brother's keeper than anyone else. It's like, right, I'll look after Pope, make sure once he gets on his feet, I'll give him his money, so put his money in my account as well. And in Jay, it's like, yo, what are you going to do? And you're going to bring Penny along, which he hasn't decided on, because he is, I mean, he's asking Penny to kind of move in with him right now, but it's like, yeah, it is interesting. I guess he's going to like, I mean, he's trying to decide like, yo, are you, especially now, like her husband Noah knows about things. I'm like, oh, that's going to complicate some future events. But it's like, yo, like, because Noah's going to be potentially coming after you and stuff. And she's like, oh, we could buy furniture together and stuff like that. Jay's like, yeah, I've got stuff to work. I guess Jay's trying to get her situated, because he does like her, but he wants her like to have her freedom. It's like, I'm looking out for you, because, he didn't have anyone looking out for him when it came to him and his mom. It was just them. So, and that relationship and that dynamic keeps playing a role in his relationship with his uncles, because Craig is up there talking about, man, having to leave this house behind. And like, I've grown up here. It's like, he didn't think about it, but like, you're rubbing salt in the wound, because Jay only moved in here after his mom died. The fact is that his mom and them struggled. Like, they never had real contact with the rest of the family, because Craig even says like, yeah, when Julia left, I saw her maybe like once or twice afterwards. So like, and he's like, yeah, I never had any like hard feelings towards Julia, And it is that thing. I even love him being like, oh yeah, that pool, that's where you drown. He's like, you mean where you drown? He's like, nah, that was Darren. And Jay's like, that was both of you. He was like, yeah, but you kind of had it coming. But he's like, nah, it's all forgiven. And that's why I can't quite shake, because I'm not sure where Jay is going to fall in this, because even, Darren's thinking was like, yo, like, what you been doing? You done a bang up job with the money and stuff. Like, you really came into your own with all of this. Can you really just walk away from all this? And Jay is like, it's for Pope, right? He would do. You said it himself. He would do it for us, and I just can't quite shake that feeling. Like I feel like Jay could go either way. Either he is all in on this, or he's just looking for an opportunity to take advantage of this to kind of do what he wants. I don't know, because he hasn't pulled the trigger on it, but it's still in play. The whole just killing Pope thing. If they find, he'd have to cover his tracks, because if he kills Pope and they find out about it, like Darren and Craig will pop his ass. So it's like. We'll have to see, but, because Craig even said, like, right, he's like, you didn't like me very much, and even Jay's like, yeah, but you didn't like me very much. He's like, yeah, here's this young bastard coming into the family, like, he knew Julia, but he didn't know Jay. They, like, had no contact at all. So it's like, right, here's this kid coming into the family, basically getting the keys to the throne, telling us running the business and stuff. But he's like, right, but you've proven yourself time and time again, it's like, that's what family is. And for Jay, it's like, this is the only family he has. At least Darren will have Pope, at least. Craig will have his son and Ren, but Jay kind of has no one. It's like, he doesn't have his mom, doesn't have a potential dad, depending, if Baz really was his dad. Baz never really stepped up for him in the first place, so Baz was always kind of a selfish prick. This episode kind of leans into that. And so he has no one, like, outside of, because even outside of this family, like, he has connections with people, but he has no one he's, like, tight with. Like, he's not really leaving much of a life behind, because his family's all he's had for the past couple years. For so long, all he had was his mom. So now it's also, but once again, you can't escape that spite of my family. This family, it's like, yeah, but this is also the family that wasn't there for me or my mom, so there's a little bit of resentment there. But obviously the conversation comes back to Smurf, because Jay's like, Smurf used me. And it's like, you, dude, Smurf used everyone. Like, Smurf only ever cared about herself. Cause I think for him, it's like, right, Smurf used me because she didn't want the rest of the family to fall in line. So, and it's like, right, things didn't work out with Julia, but I'm gonna make up with it with you. And the fact is, I'm gonna use you and become my, like, protege. And that way, my kids won't get what, I'll bring some new blood in to kind of further be more in line, like someone that'll be more submissive to what I want. It kind of plays, interestingly enough, with the past stuff where she even says that line to Julia, like, oh, you're going to listen to mom from now on? So it's like, her hold on her family and such. But circling back to Darren, he ends up getting the contact info for Billy, and he's like, right, I'm paying you off. And Billy's like, no, it's not even about the money. I just want to make sure you're okay. Just leave Pope where he is. And he's like, yo, I got a situation set up where we can, it's like, Billy, stop. We're good. Just give me the contact. Thanks. And it's just like, right, just kind of think this through. Like, are you really just willing to piss away your entire life for this? Like, everything that you guys have built, like the Cody name and everything. But it's like, yeah, it's for his brother who has made so many sacrifices for him, which we'll talk about later. So he feels the need to, like, right, when my brother's in this situation, I got to do whatever I can to help him. Like, that's what a family's about. It's like easy for Billy to talk about that from an outsider. You weren't much of a father. You haven't been much of an haven't been really part of the family, whether it's me or the rest of my siblings. Once again, talking all that shit about Jay, but you don't know Jay. You weren't there. It's so interesting that the outsider of the family would kind of comment on another quote unquote outsider, but he has more of a place in this family than you do, You were kind of like, Smurf's, you were basically Smurf's dildo, and, Jay was kind of her, which is a weird, like, transition to go into that, but, like, Jay was her protege, like, mistakes she made with Julia, she tries to overcorrect with them, and, it's almost like making things work with Julia, this time around by making things work with Jay. Either way. Another element to this episode is, like, the flashbacks in the past where, Julia gets that kimono or whatever from Smurf, and I was like, oh, she wears those. I was like, well, we know, like, even in the past and present day, that's kind of like one of her stylish things. I'm like, she wears those in the past, right? I feel like we've seen her wear those, but she's definitely wore them in, like, present day, so it's like, oh, it's almost like she wants Julia to be a mini her, but, like, Julia, like, despises her. And once again, I feel like it's mutual, because, like, it's something about Julia, like, that Julia is so rebellious, and because everyone else will fall in line except for Julia, and I think that's what bothers the crap out of her. I mean, even Pope was like, yeah, it's not smart stealing from Smurf, and she's like, really? Smurf getting on me about stealing? Like, I'd love to see that. And it's like, yeah, but it's different. It's like, because it's like, yeah, we're stealing from other people. We're supposed to be a family. You don't steal from family. It's going to be that type of shit. But the fact is that she's stashing away the money, and then she throws aside, like, the kimono or whatever, because she don't want to hear what, like, Smurf has to say. So she goes over to Baz's place. I was like, oh boy. And she's got Darren and Craig with her, and walks in on Baz having sex with someone. And he's trying to be like, oh, we're not mutually exclusive. It's like, fuck you, you asshole. Like, you know what this was to her. You even led her on by being like, yo, with my new space, you can stop by sometime. We don't even have to sneak around anymore. It's like, fuck you. And then also, like, part of me wonders, like, there's still something with the fact is that when Smurf snuck off with that dude last episode or whatever, it got to Baz and he was up there getting high and shit. Because it's like, once again, I don't know whether you wanted to fuck, like, Smurf or something. Like, just his reaction in that regard. I guess it's more so like, right, Smurf is like rolling up, this is supposed to be my place, but I will always be adherent to her because everything I own is hers, you know, so... But Julia got some good smacks in, made his nose bleed, and gave him a black eye. And he was about to punch her and being like, you got 2 free shots, that's all you got. And she's like, oh, what are you going to do? Go ahead, hit me. Go ahead, father like son. You're like, yo. And ended up bouncing, and obviously, eventually... Smurf finds out, and Julie's even going like, right, go ahead, say I told you so. She's like, yeah, there's just some lessons you have to learn the hard way. It's like, men, they only want one thing, but the fact is you can kind of use that to your advantage. It's kind of like what she's saying. So, and once again, that line of, yeah, just, are you going to start doing what mama says from now on? So... no matter what you do, it's like Smurf has that way of drawing you back in, where she makes you feel like she's the only one that understands you. She's the only one that'll ever be by your side. Like, feeling like all you have is her. That's on purpose, you know? Then there was the Andrew thing where he was trying to be like, hey, like, being sweet to her, being like, you deserve someone who will care for you and realize how sweet you are. And the moment he put her hair behind her ear, I was like, okay... this is getting weird. I'm like, are you gonna... and then he kisses her on the cheek, and then kisses her on the lips. I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh god. Once again, it's been seasons. I've been talking about it the entire series. I've said it time and time again. I thought the Smurf and Pope thing, and I guess the way he always looked at his sister, you kind of felt that incestuous stuff, but it's also like he's kind of confused and mixed up, because it's like they do have like that twin thing going on, so it's not even just incest, it's twin sets, and that just, but like it's like this is a person you are closest to in the world, so that's why it always bothered him when he saw her with other people, because it's like he wants to monopolize Julie. It's like his feelings for her, like he loves her so much because she's like part of him, like being twins and everything, and I think it's just he's conflating like just that familial love with non-familial love, you know, and like those lines blur for him because he can't quite separate them. Once again, I think their mom's unhealthy relationship with all of them does not help with that. But he's like, please don't hate me, I'm sorry. He's like, you say that there's nothing wrong with me, Julia, but there is. You know, he knows that something's off, but Smurf would never ever admit that because she likes him the way he is. Because maybe the argument could be, they'd probably say like, right, Smurf likes us all broken, because when we're broken, all we have is her to rely on. She knows that we'll never stray too far away because a boy needs his mother's side, right? So... that's me specifically quoting Second and Sebring from because I was re-listening to that song recently. It's a really good song by Of Mice and Men. If you've never heard of it, Second and Sebring. It's quite a god. That song's got to be like almost a decade old at this point in time. Either way, putting all that aside, and you also combine that with the flashbacks we get of like the moment like Pope is getting woken up at the beginning of the episode, I was like, wait, that voice, I was like, is that Scott Speedman? Is it? I was like, yeah! I was like, whoa! We're getting one more final, like, Scott Speedman as Baz. The last time, obviously, like, when he died at the, like, officially died at the beginning of season 3, which I didn't know this. Spoilers for the movie, you didn't know this. They stretched it out for the show, but in the movie, Baz also died. Apparently, he dies in, like, the first 10 to 15 minutes, which I had I've never seen the original movie. I'm probably going to wait to the end of this series just to, like, eventually track down and watch the movie just to compare and contrast. But yeah, I had no idea. Like, so Baz's fate was always, like, set up. They told what story they could tell because, they were making up story for him in this, but it's like, because he only lived to about 10, 15 minutes in the original movie. Either way, tangents and all that aside. The moment they're, like, doing a bank heist or something, I'm like, this is the job Pope got arrested at, right? And obviously, like, they're having that conversation about Kat, and it's like, oh, you left flowers in her car, and he was like, yeah, because you don't deserve her. It's like, well, because Pope would have that perspective of, you've always been a dick when it came to the women in your life. You never treated them right. I mean, truth be told, it's just like, let's not forget he was cheating on Kat. Like, despite the whole him and Lena, Kat and Lena thing, let's not forget he had he had someone on the side, and we never found out whatever happened to her son, did we? I'm blanking on her name. She's the person that Mia killed at the end of season 3, because fucking Smurf set that up. Because she was coming after Smurf because she found out Smurf had Baz killed. But her son, I don't think, like, Mia killed the son. I don't think so. I think he just killed her mom. But it's like, I mean, once again, Mia kind of got what was coming to her at the end of season 4. So it all, everyone kind of gets what's theirs. Which also makes you go, like, are any of our boys going to, catch a stray, or not even a stray, just an on-purpose bullet just because of that? Because there is that aspect of, once they do this, there's no, like, staying. We have to flee the country, and because you're going to be dealing with, like U.S. Marshals at that point in time, breaking someone out of prison. But either way, Baz and Pope had, like, their back and forth because he called him a weirdo. He's like, I'm not a weirdo. He's like, what? I'm not a weirdo. I just did that because it was, you do something nice to someone, like, I care about it. He's like, yeah, you had a shot, but you messed that up, and they went to a bank heist pretty heated, even though Smurf didn't want them to do that. But once again, it's Baz doing what he believes. Oh, he knows how to do shit, and it blew up in their faces. Yeah, he got away because he left Pope behind, and that's how Pope was on a run, which we see those scenes in the previews of, like, the season, and I was like, wait, is that going to be, like, the finale or something, like them on the run or something? It's like, no, it's from this flashback when he was on the run from the bank job. But he got arrested, and I know while he was locked up, obviously, like, so much happened. So, but I love where we catch up with Pope, but he's in prison and he's seeing Baz, and Baz is like, well, why are you here? You promised you would never come back to prison. He's like, because I killed Kat. He's like, that wasn't on you. He was like, no, it was me. He's like, no, it was Smurf. It was, all victims of Smurfs, whether it's Kat, whether it's killing Kat, whether it's killing me, or even Julia. Julia took a long time, but it still happened. It's like, yeah, that was all Mom. Like, all she ever cared about was herself. Like, they now, like, can, now being removed from her no longer being in their lives, they now have the retrospective. Like, they realized that at the time, but they just couldn't break their hold Smurf had over them. Now that she's gone, it's like, yeah, man, she did us dirty. Like, and even telling Pope, like, you don't deserve to be here because you're only as messed up as you are because of Smurf. Smurf did this to you. She did it to you on purpose. Once again, made you easier to manipulate, maybe easier to you. Because even Julia's, like, getting ready for college, and she's asking, Pope is like, oh, what are you going to do? Spend the rest of your life here doing what Smurf says? And it's like, that's exactly what happened, Whether it's just because Julia wasn't there to kind of pull him back, or, like, stand up to Smurf's bullshit, because she's the only one who typically did. Everyone else kind of kowtowed to it, like, like, submitted to her reign. I am curious. I was, like, not even just, like, past Smurf. I was like, I wonder, would we get one final cameo appearance by, like, Ellen Barkin? That'd be so interesting. I would kind of just like one more. I don't know if like she would like whether they would even contact her for that. Would she even be interested in it? I don't know. Because I'm curious, like, you know, I mean, you always wonder, like, when the actors leave a show or get killed off, it's like, is that 100% them? Is that just a story they wanted to tell? Or, you know, because I don't know, that might be like what happens to Smurf's character in the movie. Once again, I haven't seen the movie. I only know like that little bit about Baz because when I was doing my nerd mode for it, like, just ended up stumbling across that information. Regardless, my point is, like, would she make an appearance? Like, it was like whether or not, like, maybe she wanted to go do all the things, and so she asked to be killed off. That you never know with those type of situations. So it might just been natural progression of the story, or maybe it's just like the decisions the writers and creators made, or maybe that's a choice she made to leave the show. So that's when, like, it depends on probably that relationship, whether or not she wants to come, whether she'd be open to even making a small cameo. There's only 2 episodes left, and I feel like it would mean so much to have it come full circle with her being at the end. No matter what the ending is, whether it's her, like, whether it's like, you know, them getting gunned down, maybe like Pope dying or something, and one of the, as he lays there dying, who does he see? No one, but of course he sees Smurf, you know, so that's what I'm thinking, but we'll have to wait and see. But either way, Baz saying, like, I left you there, and he was like, no, you didn't. Like, he's like, you tripped over something and you needed. He's just like, yeah, like, you ain't no point of both of us, like, getting locked up, so you had to get out. He's like, did I? He's like, all you've ever done is take on so much shit from this family. Like, you've always taken it on your own, and you don't deserve that. You shouldn't have to be the one to carry this entire family's sins and its burdens. He's always been that for so long, and Smurf put him in that position, you know, and, you know, his brother telling him, like, right, you don't deserve to be in here. And obviously he's trying to quiet the voices in his head, and ultimately Baz disappears. But he decided, like, he was going to listen to that voice, and he's like, no, I'm getting out of here. Like, he wanted to punish himself, but it's like, yo, I'm not going to let Smurf be the reason why I spend the rest of my, like, I wasn't going to come back here. I would let my guilt ride on me for too long, but it's like, nah, fuck that. It's on Smurf. She laid the foundation for all of this, not just me, not just my brothers, you know, not just my sister, but even like my nephew. Like, this is all on Smurf. So he's finally going to be on board with, because they haven't been able to contact him because he's been in solitary confinement, but he's going to be all about the plan now, because, like, we're in this together. Once again, whether things are going to run that smoothly, caught some glimpses of the next episode, past and present. Yeah, it's gonna be some complications their way, but I'm very, very excited to ultimately see where the next episode takes us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.